If obsession did something to you, and it probably did, this video is for you. Curry Barker made a film about a man so desperate to be loved that he reached for something he should never have touched. And what came back wasn't love. It was a mirror, a distorted, horrifying mirror that reflected something most of us quietly recognize, the part that wants and doesn't know how to stop. That's obsession. Not the cinematic version, the real one. The kind that starts as devotion and ends as destruction. I've pulled 15 films that live in that same territory. Some are about romantic fixation, some are about the obsession with control, with survival, with God, with self, with a person who doesn't belong to you and never did. Every single one of them will do something to your chest. 15 films ranked. Let's go. Number 15. Ingrid Goes West.
The couple that yogas together stays together. #perfect.
True romance vibes.
Yes, perfect.
Congratulations.
Let me start with the one that's going to make you the most uncomfortable. Not because it's graphic, because it's accurate. Aubrey Plaza plays Ingrid Thorburn. Ingrid is lonely. Ingrid finds a woman on Instagram, a lifestyle influencer named Taylor, played by Elizabeth Olsen, and decides, with complete and total seriousness, to move to Los Angeles and become her best friend. Not follow her, not admire her from a distance, become her. Matt Spicer directed this, and what he understood is that social media has given obsession a new grammar, a new set of tools. You can now study someone daily, their food, their apartment, their friends, their morning routine, without ever being in the same room. You can construct an entire relationship in your head from public posts. And Ingrid does exactly that, with a dedication that would be impressive in any other context. The film is very funny, right up until it isn't. Plaza gives a performance of such precise, uncomfortable specificity that you occasionally have to look away. Not because it's frightening, but because it's recognizable. It's funny, sad, and deeply unsettling. Number 14. Single white female. An apartment, 2 women, and one of them who wants, more than anything, to stop being herself and start being the other one. Allie Jones advertises for a roommate. She gets Hedra Carlson, quiet, a little needy, apparently harmless. And then, gradually, Hedra begins to change. Her clothes, her hair, her name, the way she carries herself around Allie's boyfriend. Small adjustments at first, then not small at all. Barbet Schroeder directed this, and the film is, on one level, a straightforward thriller. On another level, it's a film about identity obsession, which is a more disturbing premise than it first appears. Because Hedra is not delusional. She knows exactly who she is and exactly who she wants to become. The obsession is specific and intentional, and that makes it harder to dismiss. Bridget Fonda and Jennifer Jason Leigh. The chemistry between them is the whole film. The gradual shift from warmth to unease to something neither character can clearly name. The ending is abrupt and brutal in the way that early 90s thrillers permitted themselves to be. Lean, precise, and with a third act that delivers exactly what it promises. Number 13. Fresh.
What's his Instagram? I want to stalk a little bit.
He doesn't have one.
Say what?
Yeah.
Oh no, see, that's shady.
Let's play a game. Tell me something you don't want me to know.
I hate this.
Okay.
Stop. Before I tell you what Fresh is, I am asking you to go in knowing as little as possible. If you've seen it, you know why I'm saying that. If you haven't, trust me on this. What follows is the minimum. Daisy Edgar Jones plays Noah. She meets a man at a grocery store. He is charming, funny, exactly what she was looking for. They start dating. Things go well, and then, about half an hour into the film, something happens that I will not describe. Mimi Cave directed Fresh, and the specific achievement here is tonal control. The film understands that horror is most effective when it allows you to enjoy yourself first, to relax, to invest. And then it uses that investment against you, precisely and deliberately, in a way that made me sit completely still for several minutes. Sebastian Stan plays the man Noah meets. What he does with the role, the warmth and the wrongness occupying the same body simultaneously, is genuinely extraordinary. Fresh is a film about a specific modern obsession that I will not name because naming it tells you too much. What I will say is, it rhymes with everything obsession explored about want becoming something monstrous. It just wears a much better disguise for much longer. Watch it. Tell no one what happens. Preserve the experience for the next person. Number 12. 1 hour photo.
I mean, he might even have a lot of friends. And he probably has a girlfriend and a mommy and a daddy who love him.
I don't think he does.
Robin Williams. And I need you to put everything you know about Robin Williams completely to one side. Seymour Parrish works at a photo lab in a suburban shopping center. He develops the photographs of the Yorkin family, has done for years. And somewhere in that time, quietly, without announcement, he has come to think of them as his family too. His wall at home is covered in their photographs, every print he has ever made for them. A shrine, obsessively maintained, to a life that isn't his. Mark Romanek directed this, and the genius of what he does with Williams is specifically tonal. Cy is soft-spoken, meticulous, genuinely kind in his day-to-day interactions. He is not a man who seems dangerous. He is a man who seems sad, and that distinction between the threat you can see coming and the one that has already been living inside your suburb for years is where the film lives. Williams received no major award nominations for this. That remains one of cinema's quieter injustices. He gives a performance so stripped of everything the audience expected from him that it functions almost as a kind of act of will. One of the finest, most underrated performances in American cinema of that decade. Number 11. Saint Maud.
Dear God, your presence graces the air, and soon everyone will see.
Rose Glass wrote and directed this, her debut feature. She was 32 years old. Morfydd Clark plays Maud, a private hospice nurse recently converted to Catholicism who becomes convinced that God has chosen her for a specific and sacred purpose, to save the soul of her patient Amanda, a former dancer dying of cancer. But here's what makes Saint Maud extraordinary and what puts it on this list. Maud's obsession with Amanda isn't romantic exactly, and it isn't entirely spiritual exactly. It is both of those things, fused together into something the film refuses to categorize. The way Maud experiences God's presence, the physical sensation of it, the ecstasy, the agony, is rendered with a literalness that blurs the boundary between faith and madness, right up until the film's final frames. Morfydd Clark gives everything. There is nothing left over. A film about what it costs to need a purpose so badly that you'll assign one to yourself regardless of the consequences. And the final frames of Saint Maud are among the most unforgettable final frames in British cinema in decades. When I first experienced it, I made a sound I wasn't expecting. I am not going to tell you what it is. Go, watch, and experience it. Number 10. Christine. John Carpenter. A 1958 Plymouth Fury. A teenage boy who found something that loves him back. Completely, violently, unconditionally. Arnie Cunningham is a teenage outcast. Unpopular, overlooked, invisible. Then he sees a 1958 Plymouth Fury. Rusting, wrecked, abandoned. And he falls in love. Not metaphorically, not as a figure of speech. He falls in love with a car. John Carpenter directed this from Stephen King's novel, and the horror here is structural rather than spectacular. Christine, the car, isn't simply haunted. She is jealous, possessive. She restores herself, physically, in response to Arnie's devotion. And as the car is restored, Arnie is changed. His posture, his voice, his tolerance for anyone who comes between them. The premise of the film? Obsession doesn't just consume you, it replaces you. The special effects, the physical self-restoration of the car still hold up. The dread underneath them holds up even better. Dark, atmospheric, and much more emotionally intelligent than it has any right to be. Number 9. Thelma.
Söte kommer vän. Vad är det för någon?
Not the Ridley Scott film. Stay with me. Ailey Harbo plays Thelma, a deeply sheltered young Norwegian woman raised in strict religious isolation who arrives at university in Oslo and meets Anya. And when she meets Anya, something starts happening to her. Seizures, visions, strange, impossible things. It turns out Thelma has abilities she doesn't understand, and her obsession with Anya, first as longing, then as something more complex and more frightening, is the trigger. Ailey Harbo plays Thelma, and the performance is almost entirely internal. The whole film lives on her face, in the space between what she allows herself to feel and what her body does in response. What Trier is doing here is something very specific. He is treating desire as a force of nature, not a metaphor, not a symbol. Literally, Thelma wants Anya, and the wanting has power in the physical world. The obsession is not psychological, it's elemental, and she cannot control it any better than she can control the weather. Devastating. Original. Visually extraordinary. 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Almost nobody has seen it. Fix that tonight. Number 8. Bad timing. Nicholas Roeg made this film, and the studio was so disturbed by it that they put a sticker on the original release print that read, "A sick film made by sick people." That is genuinely the most compelling review a film has ever received. Art Garfunkel plays a psychoanalyst in Vienna. Teresa Russo plays the woman he becomes obsessed with. Harvey Keitel plays a detective trying to piece together what happened on the night she nearly died. The film is told in fragments, memories, interrogations, reconstructions, and what it builds, piece by fractured piece, is a portrait of obsession as a form of violence. Not dramatic violence, the slow, suffocating violence of someone who needs to possess completely, to know everything, to have total access to another person's interior life. Roeg doesn't let you sympathize with either of them cleanly. They are both damaged. They are both complicit. The relationship is genuinely toxic in both directions, and the film refuses to tidy that up. Garfunkel was advised not to take the role. He took it anyway. He gives one of the most unsettling performances in British cinema, not because he plays a monster, but because he plays a man who is not a monster, and who does monstrous things. That distinction is everything. Number 7. Red Rooms.
Ce qu'on va tenter d'établir ici, c'est que Ludovic Chevalier est l'auteur de ces meurtres, qu'il a filmés pour un auditoire privé, prêt à payer pour voir ça en direct, dans ce qu'on appelle des Red Rooms.
A French-language film. Not for the faint-hearted. One of the most formally rigorous thrillers of recent years. A young woman travels to Montreal to attend the murder trial of a man accused of killing 3 teenage girls. She is obsessed with the case. She attends every day. She watches the courtroom with total focus. We don't know why. Not at first. Pascal Plante made this for almost nothing and created one of the most genuinely disturbing films of recent years. Not through gore, not through violence, but through what it reveals about obsession, complicity, and the dark web economies that grow around real suffering. Juliette Garriapie plays Kellyanne. She's beautiful, composed, and almost expressionless. The film exists in moral freefall. It never tells you how to feel about Kellyanne. It never reassures you. It just follows her with absolute, unflinching attention, through the courtroom, through the darknet, through the night, and lets you sit with the discomfort of not being able to look away. 100 minutes, almost no score. The silence does the work. This disturbed me in a way I wasn't prepared for. That's the highest recommendation I can give it. Number 6. Fatal Attraction. Glenn Close was robbed of the Oscar. Let me say that clearly before anything else. Michael Douglas plays Dan Gallagher, a married man who has a weekend affair with Alex Forrest, played by Close, while his wife is out of town. He expects it to end. Alex does not. Adrian Lyne directed this, and what he made was one of the defining films of its decade. A thriller that the culture immediately flattened into a cautionary tale about dangerous women, but which, watched with clear eyes, is something considerably more interesting. Because Alex Forrest is not a cartoon villain. She is a woman who was told that what happened between them was meaningful, and believed it. Her obsession is built on something that was done to her, not just something she invented. And Close, every tremor, every shift between composed and devastated, plays a woman on the absolute edge of herself, with a commitment that is almost painful to watch. The film was considered controversial at the time for reasons that seem dated now. What doesn't date is the central horror. The discovery that you cannot simply close a door on someone who has decided the door isn't closed. Enormous, operatic, and anchored by one of the great villain performances that was never really a villain performance at all. Number 5. Bitter Moon. Roman Polanski made this film, and it is genuinely one of the most uncomfortable viewing experiences on this list. Not because of what it shows, because of what it understands. Hugh Grant plays Nigel, an uptight British man on a cruise with his wife who gets drawn into the orbit of Oscar, an American in a wheelchair played by Peter Coyote. Oscar tells him the story of his relationship with his wife Mimi, played by Emmanuel Sednier, in explicit, relentless, escalating detail. What starts as erotic obsession becomes control. What starts as control becomes degradation. What starts as degradation becomes something else entirely. Bitter Moon is uncomfortable in ways that are entirely intentional. Polanski is not interested in making the obsession romantic. He is interested in showing you its full anatomy, the way two people can lock into each other so completely that the relationship becomes a closed system, self-sustaining, self-destroying. The final scene. I will not describe it. I will say I was not prepared for it the first time. On rewatch, knowing what's coming, it is somehow even worse. Number 4. Misery. Stephen King has been adapted hundreds of times. This is the one that got it completely right. James Caan plays Paul Sheldon, a novelist who crashes his car in a blizzard and is rescued by a woman named Annie Wilkes. Annie is his biggest fan. She has all his books. She knows everything about him, and she is not going to let him leave. Kathy Bates plays Annie. She won the Oscar. She deserved it the way gravity deserves to exist. Annie is not a cartoon villain. She doesn't rant or monologue. She bakes. She cleans. She has opinions about words like cock-a-doodle. She is warm and domestic and utterly, completely terrifying, because her love for Paul Sheldon is not a metaphor or an exaggeration. It is the most real and total thing in her life, and it has nowhere healthy to go. The film is 90 minutes of pure escalating dread in a single location. It has not lost a single frame of its power in 35 years. Stephen King has been adapted hundreds of times. This is the one that got it completely right. If you have somehow never seen Misery, tonight, no further discussion. Number 3. Possession.
You have someone.
Yes.
Do you sleep with him?
Yes.
I have thought carefully about how to describe this film to someone who hasn't seen it. I have not found a satisfying answer, so I will try honesty. Andrzej Zulawski made this film during his own divorce, in West Berlin. Sam Neill and Isabella Gianni play a couple whose marriage is disintegrating. He has been away, somewhere, doing something that the film deliberately refuses to specify. She wants to leave. He wants to understand why. And what she is leaving him for is something he could not have anticipated. Ajani won the Best Actress award at Cannes for this performance. She has one scene, in an underground metro tunnel, that is among the most physically and emotionally committed pieces of acting ever captured on film. She apparently suffered a breakdown shooting this film. You believe it completely. Possession is about the obsession of grief, the obsession of not knowing, the way a relationship's collapse can feel like the dissolution of the self. And it externalizes all of that through imagery so strange and so visceral that it operates on you at a level below conscious thought. Not a film, an experience, and one of the most genuinely original works of horror cinema ever made. Number 2. Perfect Blue.
I really hope that I can entertain you just the same as an actress.
But sometimes aspirations can be deadly.
I'm always watching Mima's Room!
Satoshi Kon directed this animated psychological thriller in 1997. Darren Aronofsky was so affected by it that he essentially remade several of its sequences in Requiem for a Dream, and had to buy the rights to do so. That is how good this film is. Mima Kirigoe is a pop idol who leaves her music group to pursue an acting career. And as she steps into darker, more explicit roles, as her carefully constructed public image begins to fracture, someone starts rewriting her life online. A website written in the first person, as her, documenting a reality she doesn't recognize. And then people around her start dying. But here's what Khan was actually making, underneath the thriller mechanics. A film about the obsession of the audience, about what fans believe they own when they love a public persona, about the violence that lives inside idealization when the idealized person dares to change. The line between Mima's reality and her performance, between who she is and who people need her to be, dissolves across the film's second half in a way that is genuinely disorienting. You lose track of what is real. That's intentional. That's the point. It is 81 minutes long. Every minute is doing something. Watch Obsession. Then watch Perfect Blue. Then sit very quietly and think about what they share. You will have your answer. Number 1. Rosemary's Baby. Roman Polanski again. And this time, the masterpiece. Rosemary Woodhouse moves into a new apartment in New York with her husband Guy. Their neighbors are an elderly couple. Warm, generous, and slightly strange. And then Rosemary becomes pregnant. And then she cannot stop thinking that something is wrong. The film is a masterclass in a specific kind of paranoid obsession. The obsession with figuring out what you are not being told. Rosemary becomes consumed by the question of what is happening to her body. Reads, research, compiles, connects. And the film keeps giving you moments where she might be wrong, where the rational explanation is available and plausible, and everyone around her is gently, kindly encouraging her to accept it. The horror of Rosemary's Baby is not the supernatural premise. It is the relentless, systematic undermining of a woman's certainty about her own experience. Her obsession with the truth is the film's engine, and the truth, when it arrives, changes everything. Mia Farrow, one of cinema's definitive performances. She carries every frame. Obsession gave us the cost of wanting too much. Rosemary's Baby gives us the cost of being someone else's wish, of being on the receiving end of an obsession you never consented to. 58 years old, still perfect, still relevant, still one of the finest horror films ever made. That's the end of today's video. 15 films, all of them living in the same dark territory that obsession walked into. Now, I want to hear from you. How many of these films have you already watched? And which one is your absolute favorite in this genre? Also, if there's a movie you think deserved a spot on this list, let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for great recommendations. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more movie recommendations every week. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.